Welcome back, and this is the next part on setting up the Pico electric flogs with cable motors. So in this video we'll have a look at actually putting the cable motor together. I got mine as a pack of 6. You may find that if you've got single ones, they come in more sort of commercial packaging. As you can say, this is not to be sold separately, so it'd be different from if you were to buy them singly. Here we go. And there is your little Cobalt motor with the movement arm on that side, all of the connectors for your wiring. Basically, I'm only going to be using 3, which will be the first 2 is DC in, and the third one for the frog. The rest are for switches, etc. You can do it for linking up to LEDs. If you have a look in the instructions from DCC Concepts, it show all the different things that you can do with them. My intention is to have these linked up to either one of their proprietary control panels or via some software like JMRI or something similar. So I won't be using the majority of these, it's just the first 3 that I need. Right, first thing, let's put it all together. You'll get a little pack of screws, a movement arm, wire, whatever you want to call it, that piece, and a set of screws. You tend to get an extra one. I noticed, oh no, it's there. I thought we was missing the little one. So basically you need 4 mounting screws. You always get a spare, or you seem to, certainly in my pack, so I'll add those with my spares. What I tend to do first is to put the tensioner in first, like so, and then you can adjust this up or down, and this will give you more tension on the arm. You can imagine that where that goes through your point, by adjusting that you can provide more tension up this end of the wire, basically making sure that your points throw completely across. Basically that goes, you've got 2 holes in the motor arm. Let's just feed that through the tensioner first. There's 5 holes in these tensioners. I don't know what the other ones are for. I've not had to use them. I presume, thinking about it, that you can offset it. Looks like you can. One thing you want to do though is make sure you don't lose this little one. So if you've got a screwdriver that's slightly magnetised, it does help, because then you don't tend to drop it so much. Pop that back in there, screw down on top, and that will basically just stop the arm from coming out. It's like one of these washered screws, whatever you want to call them. So that's good. You don't need to do it too tight, it's just enough so that bit can't come out. There you go. You'll also get one of these sticky back pads to go on there. That gives you some cushioning and some padding between your motor and your baseboard, presumably to cut down on any noise that's transferred. Right, so I'll peel off one side of that and carefully position that on the top. Now on my layout, I'm putting my motors in from the top rather than from underneath. It's just the way I chose to do it. I've used insulation foam and this sort of underlay fibre board for my boards. It's all supported by a framework, but it's pretty much foam rather than wood. So basically what I've done is I've made up some little plates with a hole in for the motor arm. In the instructions, I'm pretty sure they say to use a 7mm drill. I've opted for an 8mm just to give me a little bit more movement space for the arm to go across. I imagine that the reason I need the extra space there is because I've added more depth to mine. So if you have got a really thick board, you may need to open that hole out a little bit, depending on the flow of your motors or how it's set up, because that will basically go on like that. So mine will just go in like that. 2 other screws will go in the other side, that holds it in place, and these will drop in, and then you can see that when it activates, it'll move this arm across, which transfers the movement through your tension bar to move. That acts as a pivot, and this will move left to right, backwards, forwards, whichever way you want to describe it. Right, that's it set up as mechanically wise. Then what we need to do, I'll just take that off for a minute, just to make it a bit easier to handle, is the wiring side of things. Someone excuse the squeaky chair. Right, okay, this is power from my DCC bus. You don't need particularly thick wires for this because the motor doesn't draw much. You can get away with probably 7/02 wire. These are 1602. If anything, they're a little bit thick. What tends to happen, or I found, is you'll catch one of the strands and it'll push it up to the sleeving. Potentially that could cause a short if it's happened on another one. So what I've done here is I've tinned these just to keep them together. You only need about 10mm or so, and then push back. You see these little levers. Push that in and make sure it goes in as far as it can, and then give it a good tug, because I found that sometimes it doesn't purchase properly. If you can give it a good tug and stay in there, then it's going to work. I'll do the same with the other one. Push that in, and again, that's done. So that's insecure, and then what you need next is the frog. Now then, the last one, if you watched the last video, the wire came off the point, so I'll just quickly strip these ones and you might see what I was talking about. Twist that, give it a good twist, and then insert that into, let's move that back a little bit, into the third one for the frog. I don't know how well you can see this, but because it's the 1602 wire, you have to be careful. There it goes. If you can see, try and move that around a bit. There we go. It's just starting to splay out. So let's see. There we go. So what I will do is I will quickly solder that up. This is where these third arm things come in handy, whatever you want to call them. Give that a good twist, make sure that's round, nice and tight. Solder lines on. I do need some solder. Now I tend to like using these solder flux pens. This is a rosin flux dispenser pen. we go. It's probably not a good idea to leave it on your hands, but it's just a bad habit I've got. It's sold up. You don't need to put loads on. Actually, put a bit on the soldering iron and then just drag it across. It's just enough to stop that odd wire from catching. There we go. Hopefully you can see that's now tinned. Out of the way. If it's too long, just trim it down. And then there we go. Give it a good tug, and that's nice and secure. What I also tend to like doing as well is just to put a tie wrap around it. So if one gets pulled, it shouldn't do, but if one does, the other's there to support it. So it'll give it a bit more strength and just keeps it tidy as well. So there you go. 1-point motor set up. In the next one, we'll have a look about connecting up to your DCC system and testing it before you install it. Okay, see you then.